We're here at Scooters is having at the Silk Festival, talking to Marian Keys, author of many millions of books that sell throughout the world. Marian, if I can just ask you a little bit about your, first of all, your characters in the book. And I'm thinking specifically of Lucy Sullivan.
Oh my God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah. She's from Uxbridge. She's grown up in England. I think she says herself she's come there via County Monaghan.
Yeah, she's a plastic paddy.
For example, eh?
Yeah.
But the strong characters also were her parents. And, you had an alcoholic father in in Lucy Sullivan. I'm just wondering, was it somebody you based it on?
If it was, I wouldn't tell you. I'm hardly going to out some poor devil. No, it wasn't. It absolutely wasn't. I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, and addiction always interests me as a subject matter. And funny enough, the follow-on novel that I wrote was about a woman addict. But no, Jamesy was not a real person.
Okay. Yeah, no, because there was a generation gap there in a way. You had the Irish that went to England in the 50s and the 60s who would have become Lucy Sullivan's parents in a way.
Yes.
And in many respects, they left an Ireland that didn't want them, and they went to
an England that didn't want them.
Yeah, if they had a shovel, it was okay.
No, it was grim. It was very, very hard. Yeah, I mean, like Ireland has always hemorrhaged people, and the 50s and 60s were terrible. But I have to say, in 1986, which was the year I left, 50,000 of us left that year. It's only in recent times, really, that the flow of people has gone the other way. I mean, it was such a wonderful thing, in the early 2000s when people started coming home. It was the most wonderful thing. And then the crash happened, of course. But I think things are sort of evening out a little bit now, and people are coming back again.
Well, it was certainly an interesting time when you went to England. There was a famous poster for the IDA at the Arrivals Hall in Dublin Airport, showcasing a bunch of students that had graduated from UCD. And they were supposed to be the brains of Ireland, but in fact, I think all but one of them had actually emigrated from Ireland. So that was the generation you went to.
I mean, like, genuinely, there were so few jobs. It was impossible. Like, I had a law degree and it was impossible to get apprenticed, and it just seemed like it was just I always knew I would probably have to leave.
Well, if I take it a step further, then, I think I read that you have grown up, among other places, in suburban Dublin.
Yes.
And the district you grew up in was always a liberal-leaning sort of area.
Yes.
So, how was that compared to the rest of the country for you when you were basing your characters on?
God, that's a hard one because, like Dunleary was the only, which is where I was brought up, was the only borough in the country that voted against the Eighth Amendment in 1983. And funnily enough, when I came back to live in Dublin in 1998, I looked for somewhere all over Dublin and ended up living in Dunleary. It was the only house I could afford. I mean, it was very odd because, I hadn't wanted to come back. And now I'm really glad because I suppose I always knew that I was left of centre and liberal leaning, but never as much as to make a decision about where I would live. But now I'm so proud. Like, Dunleary was the second highest borough to vote in favour of repealing the Eighth. So it feels really nice.
I'm sure.
I mean, you find your tribe, as they say, and I accidentally found mine.
Right. Yeah. No, it's certainly what you call a liberal-leaning place, and there's a lot of writers and stuff that have come from there.
There's so many, like there's 3 on our road. And then we're like within hailing distance of Dalkey, where all, where the compound, where all the really fabulous people live. Sometimes, if we bring our passport, we're let in. But I live in a road where they welcome you to the neighbourhood by burgling your house. So I feel I'm far more kind of gritty and real, down with the ordinary people.
All right. Well then, since you went to to England and came back. Ireland's gone through a fantastic
growth and then crash and then
but socially as well. I mean, you have all those things that have changed.
It has been amazing, like the social change. You know, the referendum in 2015 to give same-sex marriage. It was just so joyous to be, as I see it, kind of bucking the trend across the world where everyone is shifting to the right. It just feels that the entire world is embracing right-wing economics and social policy. And it is just, I mean, how bizarre for like Ireland of all places to be a leading light. And then the landslide, the victory for Repeal the Eighth, that was probably one of the happiest days of my life. And like that campaign was the most important thing that I've lived through. And I mean, Ireland still has a lot of work to do. You know, our present government is, you know, ideologically opposed to a large state. And we have very we need housing. We need a lot of social housing, and they are not ideologically equipped to do that, which is an awful shame.
Now, there's a lot of problems still to be solved.
Oh, there really are. There are.
Probably always will be.
Yeah, but I feel very hopeful, and it's the younger generation. It was the people who were kids in 2008 when the economy crashed. I think that politicised them. I think that has made them different to the generation, you know, even 10 years older. You know, they know what struggle is, and they know what fear and poverty feels like. And I think that it has really activated them. I get so much of my courage from them, and they really give me hope.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic, and they do seem to be very politically engaged.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's incredibly because I mean, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, all I wanted was to enjoy myself. I didn't care, but they care.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
yeah,
that's good. It's good. So there's hope. At
there is hope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Then if I could just ask you one more thing about
Sure.
you spoke. I mean, you've written some 13 or 14 novels that are fiction, and you've also written some that are non-fiction.
Yeah.
And they deal with some what I call heavy problems. I mean, you spoke about alcoholism and depression.
Yeah.
There's this thing about depression and alcoholism. Do you feel that it affects the artistic spirit in any particular way, or?
I'm sorry, I have come to believe that that's utter nonsense. You know, I think the idea, you know, to mythologize alcohol as a kind of a gateway to creativity, I think it's a terrible thing to do. I mean, I know many civil servants who are alcoholics, upholsterers who are alcoholics. Like, alcoholism is a disease that doesn't respect anyone. And obviously some of them are writers like I am, but I know a huge amount of writers who aren't alcoholics. I think it's codswallop, to be honest, to try and link the two. Drink if you want, you know, by all means, but don't tell me it's a good thing to unlock creativity.
Okay, no, that's an interesting point.
I write and I don't drink, and I manage to be creative.
That's pretty good.
You know, and I don't mean to sound judgy, but I just don't. I think it's a bad idea to link them.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, that's good. Can I just ask you then lastly about your, let's say, your writing influences? Was there? You've said that you started to write just from nowhere, basically.
Yeah.
But had you read anything when you were, for example, as a child or something like that?
Well,
were there any particular writers that influenced you then?
Well, I mean, I read Enid Blyton.
Yeah.
You know, I read all English people. I read P.G. Wodehouse. Then I read Gilly Cooper. But I think, you know, being brought up in Ireland, the words we use, the stories we tell, we're a nation of storytellers. And, you know, I truly believe that we are. We're a nation of conversationalists, you know, where like every conversation is a chance to use words with flair and verve and like to create a sentence that's attractive and euphonious. I honestly think that's all it was. And being interested in people, because I'm just a storyteller, you know, and people are what interest me. So I had all those English books at the end, but at the end of the day, I do think it was just living in Ireland and being around stories the whole time.
Yeah, because I think in that time there weren't so many storybooks for children that were
there
Irish.
Weren't. No.
Basically,
it's funny. I have no memory of any Irish ones. I mean, I remember things like, Cú Cullen and Fionn McCool at school.
Yeah, well, that was forced.
Yeah, it was. It kind of was. Yeah. It wasn't something that I chose willingly. But I adored the Enid Blyton books. And I know, like, she's been outed as a racist and a classist and a sizist and the whole thing now. But I loved them.
Yeah. She was probably a victim of her times as well.
Of course she was. Yeah. Like, she didn't know that she was being offensive. And I didn't know either when I was reading them.
No, well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it was, like I say, a short interview. So thanks very much,
an
Marian
absolute
Keys.
pleasure.
Thanks for talking to us.